Hello and welcome to this lab guide video where we will be doing a very special GCP lab, and the name of the lab is Escalate GCP Privileges with Implicit Delegation. So let's get right into this lab. So the first thing we have is an actual service account file, which I already downloaded. So let me go to my downloads. So let's go ahead and copy this over to our virtual machine. And I'm going to name it SV1, just as the name itself. SV1-337.json. Amazing. So let's go ahead and activate this service account key file. All right. So let's go ahead and update our project name. Let's set the project name so that we don't have to keep setting it in every command. And now let's brute force our permissions. gcloud auth print access token. You can get this permission brute forcing Python script off of GitHub if you just Google it. However, if you want to use any other script that brute forces permissions, that is also permissible. So whilst this is going on, let's go ahead and conduct some manual enumeration commands. Open up a different tab. And let's go ahead and run IAM service account list. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can enumerate the service accounts, and lo and behold, we can list all the service accounts in this project. So that's incredible. This paves the way to a specific attack, which discloses or exposes the delegation dynamics between the service accounts. Now, what I mean by this is we can actually loop through each one of these service accounts and brute force our permissions over them. So we can practically check whether we have actual visibility on the roles and permissions themselves. We can check if we have any delegation permissions over these. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So firstly, what we're going to want to do is we want to place all of these service account emails into one file. So I'm going to do that with this command. And now all this is going to do is extract the emails, as you can see here, format value emails, and then place it into a file. All right, we have all the emails in one file. Now we're going to use a command to loop through each of them, trying to find our delegated permissions over any of them. I'm going to use this command here. You can copy paste that if you want, take a screenshot. Let's go ahead and run it. Whilst this is running, let's go ahead and check. All right, we are 35% done. It does take a few minutes to complete. looks like we did have one pop. So on SV2, yeah, we are SV1, and the naming scheme is also quite generic. We have SV1 holding delegated permissions, implicit delegation, over SV2. So that is incredible. Let's go ahead and utilize this implicit delegation and loop once more through these emails and see which email, which service account this service account has delegated permissions to. So if you're not familiar, implicit delegation means that any delegation that service account 2 has over any other service account, we have over that service account. So we can loop through these service accounts, specifying the delegation service account as service number 2, and then conduct a print access token command over whichever one we have implicit delegation to. So let's go ahead and do that through this command over here. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain it just briefly to you. We're going to be looping using a for loop through every email in the service account email list. And then we're going to be conducting this delegation, specifying the delegate as the service2 service account, and specifying the scope as cloud platform. What we're going to be doing is generate an access token using our access token as the initial point of access for this command. Let's go ahead and run it. So each permission denied means that that implicit delegation does not have delegated permissions over that service account. But as you can see here, there was one token which was actually printed. And we're going to go ahead and copy this. Now, I'm going to run this command to confirm to you how we can actually display the service account of the token, as well as the project name and the entire email of the service account through an error by accessing a resource that we don't have access to. Anyways, let's go ahead and brute force the permissions of this newfound service account, newly accessible service account. Looks like our initial scan has finished. And something that we didn't actually utilize was IAM roles get and IAM roles list. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Let me just go ahead and launch the new scan to see the permissions of the new service account that we just got access to. Okay, since we have the capability to view the roles and get them, let's go ahead and utilize another command over our service account file. So we're going to be using this file again and loop through each one of these service accounts and list the role binding for each one of them. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to be using this command right here. We're going to loop through using a while loop. And then we're going to echo fetching IAM policy 4 and then view the service accounts bindings. Okay, as you can see here, this was the initial service account that we got our foothold through. And this service account has a custom role. It's custom by the fact that the name is custom. Custom front end app dev role. So let's go ahead and copy this. Go into a new tab and say gcloud and we have to specify the project for this specific command. All right, so here are the permissions that we have already brute forced. It's telling us that we can list the roles and get the service accounts. And we can actually also get policies for the project, it seems. Let's go ahead and test that out. Oh, wow, we can. So here's another plethora of information that we can utilize to conduct more attacks. However, let's go back to the roles and go through each of the roles of the service accounts that we have now compromised. So we just did the binding for the first service account. Let's go over to SV2 and see what it has. Here's SV2, the second service account that we compromised. I suppose you could say that we didn't actually compromise it. We only used it as an intermediary to compromise SV3. We used SV2's implicit delegation, which it had delegation permissions over SV3 in order to get the token of SV3. Now, you can see right here how it says in the binding that SV2 has the role service account token creator over SV3. And this was the specific delegation that led us to compromise SV3. Again, I'm going to reiterate. We had implicit delegation over SV2. And since SV2 had the delegation service account token creator over SV3, we were able to use our implicit delegation and take advantage of this role binding and create a token for SV3. Anyways, let's see if our scan is finished. 73%. Amazing. So whilst we're here, let's go ahead and see if SV3, the service account that we're currently scanning, has any delegated permissions over any of the other service accounts. If we go over to the initial service account scanning command, here we are. You go ahead and specify the token as the token file. Let's go ahead and see if SV3 has another additional chain of delegation that we can expose. Mind you, we could also check the policies and roles that we have access to read. However, this was a quick and easy check to brute force whether or not we have delegated permissions or not. See if our scan is done. 99%. Amazing. So here we see the first thing that we have access to are cloud functions. Incredible. We can get the function, which I think means we can describe it. And we can list the functions, which means that we can list the functions of the project. Now, in terms of the storage permissions that we have the capacity to get objects and list objects of a bucket. However, because we only have buckets get, we actually can't list the buckets of the project. To list the buckets of the project, we would have needed buckets list. So let me go ahead and confirm that. Okay, let me do that in this tab here. As you can see, service account 3 does not have the permissions to do so. Well, we do have permissions to list the functions. And funny thing about functions is that functions have a bucket within which the source code of the function is residing. And the amazing thing about the functions bucket, the function source codes bucket, is that that bucket has a clear format that is static and distinct but static. The format does not change. So let's go ahead and describe this function and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here you can see some valuable information, such as the service account associated with the function, bucket viewer. And here we have the source upload URL, which displays the URL of the source code zip file. Now, let me get the format of the functions bucket and then show you what I mean. Okay. So, GCF sources does not change. The build number is right here within the build name. After projects comes the build number. So if we copy that, we can replace the placeholder for build number. Now, if you haven't caught on, I'm building the name of the bucket where the source code is inside. The region is right here. The region is everywhere. So let's go ahead and do this. gcloud storage list gs and this bucket name. Access token file, specifying the token file again. Sorry, I'm not sure where I went wrong. gcloud storage list. Oh, it's not list, it's ls. The shortcut is ls. There we go. And as you can see here, this do not delete bucket is default made for every function bucket that's created with the function. And then here we have the directory, which leads us to the source code of the function. So let's repeat this command with the -r flag to specify that we want to recursively list all directories and items in the bucket. Okay, incredible. Let's go ahead and retrieve the source code. Instead of ls, I'm going to be using cp for copy. Let's go ahead and retrieve it. Amazing. We just got it. Let's go ahead and unzip. Oh, look at that. Looks like we just got the flag. Let's go ahead and input this to finish the lab. Amazing. Congratulations. You have just completed this lab with me, and I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments what you enjoyed about this lab. Very short and sweet, but I believe it was pretty educational. Thank you, and see you later.